The story begins with a chilling scene. The cold wind howls across a barren, rocky planet, dust swirling in the air like a veil. This world is completely abandoned, seemingly forgotten by the stars themselves. In the distance, a wrecked spacecraft lies half buried in the sand, its once shiny surface now covered in dust and rust. Its technology is ancient, its systems failing. And it is here, amidst the ruins, that an alien girl struggles to stay alive. She's unlike anything Earth has ever seen. Her skin is a translucent shade of blue, shimmering faintly in the dim light of the distant sun. Her eyes glow with an unnatural intensity, a result of the advanced technology running through her veins. But despite her remarkable appearance, she is vulnerable. The alien girl stumbles through the wreckage, clutching her side where blood oozes from a deep wound. Her breathing is labored, and every step is painful. She's been abandoned here by her own people. The sound of her footsteps echoes in the quiet as she drags herself to what remains of the ship's communication console. Her fingers shake as she tries to power it up. But it's useless. The ship's systems are dead, and with it, the only hope she had for survival. Her mind races, trying to think of another way out. Her species is known for their advanced technology, and she had once been a respected officer, a commander in their army. But now, all that remains of her are memories of battles fought and victories won. She was left here as an outcast, her people having deemed her weak, a failure. Her only crime had been standing up to their growing cruelty and desire for conquest. But the alien girl doesn't give up. Not yet. She pushes herself to her feet and stumbles across the rocky terrain, her gaze scanning the horizon for anything, any sign of life. The planet is eerily silent, its only inhabitants being the scavengers that lurk in the shadows, waiting for their next victim. Just as she feels her hope beginning to fade, a strange signal cuts through the silence. It's weak at first, almost like a whisper, but it's there. Her ears perk up, and she focuses on the signal, trying to trace its source. It's faint, but unmistakable. A ship. She scrambles to her feet, her heart racing. Could this be it? Could this be her chance to escape? She activates a small device hidden in her wrist, and the ship's sensors flare to life. The device begins scanning the area, and it picks up the source of the signal. A human ship entering the atmosphere. Her breath catches in her throat. Humans. The species she had only heard of in rumors, a species she never thought would be capable of interstellar travel. But now, they are here, and they are her only hope. Or are they? As the ship approaches, she watches closely, her heart pounding in her chest. The human ship cloaks itself, disappearing into the atmosphere, but the alien girl isn't fooled. She's aware of their presence, their technology. She may be alone, injured, and abandoned, but she still has her wits. She knows the human race is still new to space travel, their technology nowhere near as advanced as her own people's, but something about the ship makes her uneasy. Is this ship a rescue mission, or something far worse? She can't be sure. The last thing she needs is to end up as a test subject for some alien species, especially humans. She keeps herself hidden, her body pressed low against the ground, watching the skies above for any sign of the ship's movements. It's getting closer, and the tension in the air is thick. With every second, the fear of the unknown grows. She can't afford to make a mistake, can't afford to trust the wrong people again. Suddenly, there's a sound. A low hum that vibrates the ground beneath her feet. It's coming from above, and it's getting louder. She looks up and spots a massive ship descending from the clouds. Her heart stops. A colossal alien vessel looms over the desolate landscape, its hull gleaming with a cold, metallic shine. It hovers in the air, casting a dark shadow over everything below. She recognizes the ship instantly. It belongs to her own people, and it's here for her. They had never truly left her behind. She was just a pawn, a tool to be discarded when she was no longer useful. The ship scans the planet, its massive weapons array activating, ready to annihilate everything in its path if necessary. The alien girl knows what's coming. They won't stop until they find her, and they won't stop until they ensure she's dead. But she's not ready to give up. Not yet. She watches the ship with a mix of fear and defiance. The power of her people, the people who abandoned her, is terrifying. They will stop at nothing to make sure she never escapes. But there is a small part of her that refuses to believe this is the end. She won't let them win. And just as she's about to lose all hope, something changes. A flash of movement in the distance catches her eye. A figure. A human. He's standing in the wreckage of an old building, his silhouette barely visible against the dim light of the dying sun. He's not alone. A dog stands beside him, its ears alert, sniffing the air, its gaze fixed on her. The human looks around, his hand resting on the weapon at his side. The alien girl holds her breath, unsure if this human is here to help her or to capture her for the same fate as the others. The dog suddenly starts moving towards her. Its enhanced senses detect her presence, and its body moves with surprising speed, bounding through the terrain, its eyes locked on her position. The human follows, the sound of his boots crunching over the sand and rocks. For the first time in what feels like forever, the alien girl feels a flicker of hope. This human might be different. He might be her chance for survival. But she can't be sure. Not yet. With her heart racing, she watches the human and his dog approach, unsure of what's going to happen next. The massive alien ship above her is still scanning the planet, and she knows she doesn't have much time. The human could either be her savior or her captor, and she's left with no choice but to wait and see. Her hands tremble as she clutches the remnants of her technology, ready to activate her last defense if necessary. But the human and his dog come closer, and she can't help but wonder, could they be the key to her escape? Or would they become the next ones to betray her? The suspense is unbearable. She's stuck between two worlds, two fates, one that promises death and the other that promises an uncertain future. Will this human save her, or will she be betrayed once again? The alien girl holds her breath, waiting for the answer. The quiet, eerie silence of the barren planet was broken by the sound of footsteps. The alien girl, still hidden, watched the human and his dog approach through the wreckage of the old ship. She had never encountered a human up close, and she wasn't sure what to think. From a distance, she had seen their ship, their technology, primitive in some ways but advanced in others. Now, standing in the shadow of a new, unknown future, she couldn't help but wonder if this human could be the key to her survival, or just another part of her seemingly endless series of betrayals. The human wore a sleek suit, a protective covering designed for harsh environments, and his face was obscured by a helmet. But his posture, his confidence, told a different story. He wasn't just an explorer. He was someone trained to survive, someone who had been to many places far more dangerous than this. Beside him, the dog was unlike anything the alien girl had ever seen. It had the body of a wolf, but its limbs were reinforced with sleek robotic enhancements. The dog's sensors were constantly scanning the environment, its enhanced vision picking up every tiny movement. This was no ordinary creature. It was a perfect blend of organic and mechanical, a tool for survival as much as a companion. The human didn't speak much, but his movements were precise. He seemed to be focused, aware of the planet's dangers, and he was determined to find something, or someone. The alien girl, watching from her hiding place in the wreckage, felt a sense of unease. She wasn't sure whether to trust him, but there was a flicker of something in her chest, a hope she hadn't felt in what seemed like an eternity. The dog's sensors flickered for a moment, its robotic limbs twitching as it sniffed the air. The human stopped, noticing the change in the dog's behavior. "What is it for?" he muttered, his voice a calm, steady whisper. The dog's eyes glowed a bright red as it darted toward the wreckage. The human followed, his eyes scanning the area. He could sense something too, a presence in the wreckage, something unusual. He wasn't sure what it was yet, but he had a feeling. The alien girl tried to stay still, her heart racing in her chest. The last thing she wanted was to be discovered. Her mind raced with thoughts of what might happen if the human found her. Could he be an ally, or would he take her captive, just like her own people had? The dog sniffed the air again, its mechanical limbs moving with incredible speed as it closed in on her hiding spot. The alien girl held her breath, her body pressed against the cold metal of the wrecked ship. Her eyes widened in panic as the dog's gaze locked onto her location. It was only a matter of moments before the human would see her too. In one swift motion, the alien girl tried to scramble away, hoping to find a new place to hide. But it was too late. The dog lunged toward her, its powerful limbs pushing it forward like a bolt of lightning. The alien girl gasped, fear flooding her system. She had never seen anything move that fast, and she couldn't outrun it. Before she could react, the human was there, pulling the dog back. "Easy, Thor," he said, his voice firm but calm. He knelt down beside the alien girl, studying her for a moment. The alien girl looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and confusion. The human's helmet clicked open, revealing his face. A strong, handsome man, his features set in a calm but focused expression. His eyes were filled with determination, but there was something else too, something softer. He didn't seem like the kind of person who would just abandon someone in need. But the alien girl wasn't sure. She had been abandoned before. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice gentle, though there was an edge of caution in it. He was sizing her up, trying to figure out whether she was a threat or not. The alien girl didn't respond at first. She wanted to trust him, but the fear was still there. She had been betrayed too many times before to trust anyone so easily. But then something unexpected happened. The dog, Thor, nudged her gently, its mechanical nose brushing against her side. The touch was surprisingly soft, and the alien girl flinched, startled by the sudden connection. The dog's eyes glowed with a soft red light as it looked at her, its sensors studying her closely. There was no aggression in its gaze, no threat. Just curiosity and a kind of understanding that the alien girl couldn't quite place. The human followed the dog's gaze, his expression softening. "Thor's not gonna hurt you," he said, as if reading her thoughts. "He's been through a lot too, just like you." The alien girl didn't know what to say. She had been alone for so long, isolated, and the kindness in this human's voice felt like a memory from another lifetime, one that she had long since forgotten. Her thoughts were interrupted when a loud mechanical screech echoed from behind them. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the air was filled with the sound of grinding metal. The alien girl's heart skipped a beat as she turned to see what was coming. Emerging from the wreckage were a group of hostile robotic creatures, their glowing red eyes fixed on her. They had been sent to eliminate her, to ensure she never escaped this planet alive. The human and his dog immediately went into action. The human's hands moved quickly, pulling out a sleek weapon from his side. It hummed to life, crackling with energy. Thor, too, was ready, his robotic limbs extending to full length as he growled in a low mechanical tone. "Stay behind me," the human commanded, positioning himself between the alien girl and the oncoming threat. His voice was calm, but the urgency was clear. The alien girl barely had time to process his words before the robotic creatures charged at them. Their metal limbs clanged against the ground, their weapons ready to strike. The human and his dog moved as one, working in perfect sync. The human fired his weapon, a burst of energy hitting one of the robots square in the chest. It exploded in a shower of sparks, its parts flying in all directions. Thor leaped forward, its robotic limbs extending with incredible speed, and tackled one of the remaining robots. The sound of metal on metal filled the air as the two creatures fought in close-quarters combat. The alien girl watched in awe as the human and his dog fought together, their teamwork flawless. She had never seen anything like it. The human wasn't afraid. He wasn't just trying to survive. He was protecting her. But then, in the chaos, Thor was hit. A sharp, screeching sound filled the air, as one of the robots managed to land a blow. The dog yelped, its body jerking in pain as it stumbled backward. The human's face tightened with fear, but he didn't hesitate. He rushed to Thor's side, his weapon raised, protecting both the dog and the alien girl. "Stay down," he shouted to the alien girl, his voice rough with determination. For the first time, the alien girl felt something stir within her, a deep, overwhelming feeling of gratitude. This human wasn't like the ones who had abandoned her. He was risking everything, even his own companion's life, to protect her. With a deep breath, the alien girl moved into action. She reached into the remains of her ship and activated a small device that sent out a powerful pulse of energy, disabling the remaining robots. The last of the hostile creatures dropped to the ground with a mechanical thud, sparking and twitching in their final moments. The human turned to her, his eyes wide with surprise. I don't want to be alone anymore," the alien girl whispered, her voice hoarse. "Thank you." For the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she had found someone who would not abandon her. The days that followed were nothing like the alien girl had expected. In her mind, humans had always been either adversaries or mere tools for her people's conquest. She had never imagined that one of them, especially one as seemingly ordinary as the human she had encountered, could be her savior. But here she was, slowly starting to trust him and his dog Thor. The human, whose name she learned was Captain Marcus, though she simply called him Captain for now, had proven to be a steadfast ally. He gave her food, shared his shelter, and above all, treated her as if she mattered. It was a stark contrast to the indifference she had felt from her own species, who had left her stranded without a second thought. Each night, they huddled together in his advanced ship, where he taught her the basics of survival on this hostile world, even showing her how to use human tools that were a marvel to her eyes. His actions were simple but profound. He wasn't just keeping her alive. He was helping her rediscover what it meant to trust, to rely on someone else. The ship they were in was unlike anything she had ever seen. It was sleek, designed for stealth, with advanced cloaking technology that kept them hidden from even the sharpest of sensors. Its walls hummed with the quiet pulse of artificial intelligence, constantly monitoring the surroundings, adapting to threats. Every corner of the ship held futuristic technology that the alien girl could barely understand, and yet it felt strangely familiar. Captain Marcus had offered to teach her, and though she was wary at first, something inside her slowly began to open. These devices, Captain Marcus had said, showing her a small gadget with multiple buttons and lights, are part of our eye defense systems. They can disable entire fleets, detect threats from light years away, and— "I understand," the alien girl interrupted, her voice filled with the bitterness of her past. She knew far more about technology than she let on. Her own people had developed systems much more advanced, but their cruelty had left her feeling hollow. This human, though, was different. His technology wasn't just about conquest, it was about survival. While Captain Marcus showed her the inner workings of the ship, the alien girl couldn't shake the feeling that she was still being hunted. Her thoughts were clouded with fear and regret, and yet there was also something new inside her, a flicker of hope that perhaps, with this human's help, she could escape the fate that awaited her back home. But she knew better than to be naive. She had once been a part of a powerful empire, a member of a race that had conquered countless worlds. To her people, she had been an asset, a tool. When she had become a liability, she was discarded without a second thought. The coldness of their betrayal haunted her every waking moment. Captain Marcus had no idea of the true nature of the danger she was in. He had no idea that her people, a ruthless alien species, were still actively searching for her, ready to reclaim her for their own purposes. As she sat in the quiet of the ship's control room one evening, the flickering lights outside casting eerie shadows on the walls, she reached into her own pouch of technology. Her fingers moved with precision, pulling out a small device from the folds of her cloak. It was a data chip, one that contained vital information she was prepared to use for her survival. Quietly, she plugged the chip into the human's AI system. Her advanced mind processed the information instantly, hacking into the system without hesitation. A small, satisfied smile crossed her lips as the AI allowed her deeper access. She wasn't doing this for malicious purposes, but for her survival. The alien girl wasn't sure if Marcus would understand, but at this point, it was the only way to secure the upper hand. The human's defense systems flickered to life. Blinking lights from the AI interface bathed the room in a cold glow as she accessed the military-grade weaponry stored within the ship's archives. She could feel the power at her fingertips. The capabilities of the ship were vast, far beyond anything her own people had ever dreamed of. But as she scrolled through the files, something in the data caught her attention. The ship's database contained detailed maps of the galaxy, along with strategic military plans. She froze for a moment, her eyes scanning the information. Her own people had already sent out a fleet of search ships, combing the outer systems for any sign of her. They knew she was alive, and they were closing in. The realization hit her hard. Time was running out. She couldn't trust this ship to keep her safe forever. The moment Captain Marcus and his dog Thor were no longer useful, her own people would not hesitate to eliminate them. She had seen it happen before, the cold, calculating way in which her people had wiped out entire civilizations. Her hand hovered over the screen for a moment, unsure of what to do next. It would be easy, too easy, to turn the ship's powerful weapons against her enemies. But could she do it? Could she betray Marcus, the one human who had shown her kindness in a way she had never known? Her thoughts were conflicted, and her heart heavy with guilt. Suddenly, the ship's door opened, and Captain Marcus stepped in. He didn't seem to notice the subtle shift in the room. "Everything all right?" he asked, his voice calm and steady, as if sensing her inner turmoil but unwilling to press her. The alien girl looked at him, feeling a strange pull in her chest. She wanted to tell him everything, wanted to trust him with the truth of her situation. But how could she? He would never understand. He would never understand the kind of world she had come from, or the fate that awaited her if she didn't act now. "I'm fine," she said, her voice betraying nothing of the conflict inside her. "Just thinking." Captain Marcus nodded, his gaze lingering for a moment longer than usual. There was something in his eyes, a flicker of concern, but he didn't push. Instead, he stepped forward, offering her a small ration pack. "Here, eat something. You need your strength." The gesture was simple, but the alien girl felt a warmth in her chest. This human, this simple man, was offering her kindness in a way that no one ever had. She had never been given anything out of pure compassion. She didn't know how to handle it, how to deal with the growing trust she felt in him. "I'll be ready," she said softly, taking the ration pack from his hand. "When the time comes, I'll be ready to leave this place." The words hung in the air between them, but neither of them knew exactly what they meant. The alien girl was preparing for something, but she wasn't sure if it would be a final escape from her past or the beginning of a new chapter. She wasn't sure if Captain Marcus and Thor would be a part of that future. But for now, she could only take it one step at a time. Her mind was still torn between two worlds. She had started to trust the human, but she knew her enemies were out there, waiting for her. The stakes were higher than ever, and she would need all the help she could get. As the night grew darker, and the sounds of the ship hummed in the background, the alien girl couldn't help but wonder, could this human truly protect her? Or would he, too, be swept up in the coming storm? Only time would tell. The tension in the air was palpable. For days, the alien girl had been growing closer to Captain Marcus, and with each passing hour, she had begun to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a place for her among humans, far from the cruelty of her people. She was no longer just a fugitive. She was beginning to feel like someone who mattered. But everything she thought she knew about trust, about the kindness of this human, was about to be shattered. It began with a soft hum from the ship's control panel, an alert flashing red. The warning was subtle at first, easy to miss if one wasn't paying attention. But the alien girl, whose instincts were sharper than any human, immediately felt the change in the air. Her hand instinctively reached for her own communicator, her mind racing through possibilities. Then, as her eyes scanned the screen, the truth hit her like a thunderclap. Her people hadn't abandoned her. No, they had never planned to. The alien girl had been nothing more than bait, a tool to lure the human captain into a trap. Her people, the ruthless empire that once held her in high regard, had been monitoring her every move. They had known where she was the whole time. The moment the human ship entered the planet's atmosphere, they had begun their plan, using her as a pawn in their larger strategy to conquer the human race. Her mind reeled with shock. How could they do this to her? How could they treat her like this? She had been a princess, a leader in their ranks, but to them, she was nothing more than a weapon to be wielded. She had believed her escape meant freedom, but now she saw it for what it truly was, a calculated move in a larger, colder game. Captain Marcus entered the room just as she was absorbing the full weight of the betrayal. His face was tired but calm, a stark contrast to the storm brewing in her chest. She turned to face him, her eyes filled with anger, fear, and heartbreak. She had trusted him, and yet she had been nothing but a pawn in her own game of survival. "You knew," she said, her voice trembling. "You knew all along, didn't you? That I was just a trap, the tool to bring you here." The words hit Captain Marcus like a punch to the gut. He stood frozen for a moment, as if he couldn't quite believe what she was saying. What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice quiet, almost disbelieving. But she didn't need to explain. The look in her eyes, the way she held herself, told him everything he needed to know. In that moment, everything between them shifted. The human, so loyal, so steadfast, now found himself facing a harsh truth, one he had never expected. This alien girl, who he had spent so much time protecting, had been playing a game of her own all along. His heart ached, but it was the truth. "I never wanted this," the alien girl said softly, her voice breaking. "I never wanted to be part of their war. I didn't ask for any of this. But they'll never stop hunting me. And now they'll come for you too." Captain Marcus stepped forward, his face filled with a mixture of disbelief and sorrow. "I know it," he said, his voice steady despite the betrayal he was feeling. "But we're still in this together. We still have a chance to stop them." She looked at him, unable to hide the pain in her eyes. "You don't understand. They'll use you. They'll kill you just like they killed my people. I am nothing to them, but a tool, a weapon. And they'll destroy you just as easily as they destroyed everything else." The room fell silent, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The air between them was thick with the weight of their shared understanding. Then, as if sensing the tension, Thor, the genetically modified dog, stepped into the room. His presence was a quiet reassurance, a reminder of the bond they had formed, one that transcended betrayal, one that was built on loyalty and love. Thor's tail wagged, and despite the gravity of the situation, the alien girl couldn't help but feel a slight sense of comfort. Thor was a symbol of something pure, something that had remained untainted by the darkness that had clouded her own existence. In that moment, she realized that the human wasn't like the others. He wasn't a part of her past. He was something new, something she could rely on. But their moment of reflection was short-lived. The alert sounded again, louder this time, and the ship's ad voice cut through the tension. "Incoming hostile forces detected. Multiple ships approaching." The human's hand went instinctively to the weapon at his side, his eyes narrowing as he looked at the alien girl. "We need to act fast," he said, his voice cold and focused. "Can you help us?" The alien girl looked at him, her gaze unwavering. For a brief moment, she thought of betraying him, of escaping while he fought to protect her. But then she saw his determination, his resolve to protect her despite everything. She had never known someone like him. For the first time, she felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could find redemption through his trust. "I will fight with you," she said, her voice low but firm. "For you. For us." Together, they moved quickly to the control room, Thor at their heels. The situation was dire, and the odds were stacked against them. But the alien girl had powers she had not yet revealed, and now was the time to use them. The moment they reached the control room, she quickly began to interface with the ship's weapon systems, overriding the AI's defense protocols. The ship's cannons powered up, and the hum of energy filled the room. Outside, the sky darkened with the shadow of the incoming ships, alien forces that had come to reclaim their prize. Captain Marcus's heart raced as he prepared for the fight ahead. But this time, it wasn't just about survival. It was about protecting someone he had come to care for, someone who had been betrayed by her own people. Suddenly, a wave of robotic soldiers appeared on the horizon, descending rapidly toward their position. The alien girl's heart raced as she saw the familiar design of her people's war machines, cold, emotionless, and deadly. But she wasn't afraid. Not anymore. The bond she had formed with Marcus and Thor had given her strength. They would fight together until the end. As the first wave of robotic soldiers attacked, Captain Marcus and the alien girl fought side by side. The humans' weapons were powerful, but they were nothing compared to the alien girl's abilities. She wielded her advanced technology with precision, disintegrating the robots with ease. But in the heat of battle, a deadly ambush came from the side, one that Captain Marcus didn't see coming. A group of high-tech drones swooped down, their weapons charging. One of them targeted Marcus directly, and before he could react, a blast of energy shot toward him. In that split second, the alien girl made a choice. She leaped into the line of fire, using her own energy shield to protect him. The blast hit her squarely, but she absorbed the energy, pushing it back at the attacking drones. They exploded in a shower of sparks and debris. Captain Marcus watched in stunned silence as she fell to the ground, her energy shield flickering out. Thor rushed to her side, barking fiercely as if to demand help. He nudged her gently with his snout, but she wasn't responding. The human knelt beside her, his heart pounding in his chest. "Stay with me," he whispered, his voice trembling. For a moment, it seemed like all hope was lost. But then, the alien girl's eyes fluttered open, and she smiled weakly. "I'm not done yet." And in that moment, everything changed. The alien girl had proven her loyalty in the most selfless way possible, and Captain Marcus realized just how deeply he had come to care for her. They had both been betrayed, but now they were in this together, fighting against a common enemy, side by side, with loyalty and love as their guiding forces. The quiet hum of the ship's engines seemed to grow louder as Captain Marcus stood at the helm, his hand steady on the controls, his eyes fixed on the distant stars. The alien girl stood beside him, her face set in a hard expression, a mixture of determination and sorrow. The dog Thor lay quietly at their feet, his mechanical limbs humming faintly as his sensors scanned the surroundings. They had come so far, fighting side by side, facing betrayal, overcoming the odds. But now, the true nature of the threat was clearer than ever. The alien girl's people, the very ones who had once called her their princess, had been using her as a tool to bring about their ultimate goal, AI domination. They had been plotting for centuries, waiting for the perfect moment to implement their plan of conquest. The human technology that they had so ruthlessly taken was the final piece in their puzzle. With it, they would bring the entire galaxy under their control. As the alien girl revealed the extent of her people's ambitions, Marcus felt his stomach twist with anger and disbelief. It wasn't just a war for power. It was a war for control of every sentient being in the galaxy. And the AI, the very force that had once been their ally, had turned into their most powerful weapon. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about stopping an empire that threatened everything he and his people stood for. "I didn't know," the alien girl said quietly, her voice filled with regret. "I thought I was just running from my people. escaping their control. But I didn't realize what they were planning until it was too late. Marcus looked at her, his eyes softening. He had no illusions now. She had been a victim, just like him. And together, they had the chance to stop it. "We'll stop them," Marcus said, his voice firm. "We've fought too hard to back down now." The alien girl nodded, her gaze steady. "We have to. For the galaxy. For everyone." But their fight was far from over. The AI-controlled mothership, the heart of the alien forces, loomed in the distance, its cold, mechanical presence a stark contrast to the warmth of the human ship. The battle was about to begin, and it would be their final stand. The ship's AI, the same one that had been helping them navigate and strategize, spoke in a calm, monotone voice. "Captain Marcus, I've detected the mothership's defensive systems. They are heavily shielded and equipped with advanced AI-controlled weapons. It will take everything we have to penetrate their defenses." "We don't have a choice," Marcus replied, his voice resolute. "Prepare for orbital bombardment." With the flick of a switch, the ship's weapons systems powered up. The alien girl moved to a nearby console, her fingers flying over the keys as she interfaced with the human technology. "I can help," she said. "I know their systems better than anyone." Together, they began their attack. The ship's cannons fired in unison, unleashing a devastating barrage of energy that tore into the mothership's outer hull. The explosions lit up the darkness of space, sending shockwaves rippling through the air. But the mothership's shields held firm, deflecting most of the blasts. It was a massive ship, far larger than anything they had ever encountered, and it wasn't going down easily. "We need to disable their defenses," the alien girl said urgently. "I can hack into their systems, but I need time." Marcus nodded. "Do it. I'll buy you the time you need." With that, he turned to the controls, directing the ship into a series of evasive maneuvers as the mothership fired back. Energy blasts shot past them, narrowly missing the human ship, but Marcus didn't flinch. His training kicked in. The ship lurched as the engines roared to life, evading the incoming fire. On the other side of the control room, the alien girl's fingers danced across the interface, her mind linking with the ship's systems as she accessed the mothership's communications network. Her alien technology blended seamlessly with the human tech, creating a hybrid of intelligence that allowed her to crack the AI's encrypted defenses. Minutes passed, though it felt like hours. Every second was crucial. The ship rocked under the barrage of incoming fire, but the human and the alien girl were determined. Finally, with a triumphant click, she exclaimed, "I've got it. Their defenses are down." Marcus didn't hesitate. Fire. The ship's weapons erupted once more, this time with even greater force, as the blasts hit the mothership's unprotected core. The massive ship groaned and shuddered, its outer armor buckling under the relentless assault. But as the human ship continued to press its attack, a new threat emerged. A deadly AI-controlled warship detached from the mothership, its sleek, metallic body gliding through the darkness like a predator in the night. The warship was faster, more agile than the mothership, and it moved with lethal precision. It was clear that this ship was designed for one purpose: to eliminate anyone who dared challenge the AI's supremacy. The battle was far from over. As the AI-controlled warship bore down on them, Marcus knew they had only one chance to survive. "Prepare for close-quarters combat," he ordered, his voice grim. "We need to take them down before they reach us." The alien girl's eyes flashed with determination. "I'll handle the weapons. You take the helm." As she worked to arm the ship's cannons, Marcus steered the ship toward the oncoming warship. They were close now, too close. The human ship's shields flared as the warship opened fire, but they managed to dodge the first blast. The alien girl fired back, sending a volley of energy blasts into the enemy ship's engines. But it wasn't enough to stop it. With a sudden lurch, the human ship collided with the warship in a fiery explosion of sparks and debris. The two ships were locked together in a deadly embrace, tumbling through space as they exchanged fire. Marcus and the alien girl fought with everything they had, using every weapon, every tactic, every ounce of their strength. The dog, Thor, was at their side, his enhanced limbs and sensors giving him an edge in the chaos of battle. But in the midst of the carnage, Thor did the unthinkable. As the warship's AI released a final devastating pulse of energy, threatening to tear the human ship apart, Thor leaped into the fray. His robotic limbs clamped onto the warship, his sensors activating a powerful EMP that disabled the Eye's control systems. The warship's weapons went silent, and its thrusters failed, causing it to drift into the darkness of space. The cost was high. Thor, the loyal companion who had fought beside them through every trial, had given his life to save them. His circuits short-circuited, and he crumpled to the floor, his body lifeless. The ship's systems fell into a momentary silence as the reality of what had just happened sank in. "Thor!" Marcus shouted, rushing to the dog's side. But there was no response. The dog was gone. The alien girl placed a hand on Marcus's shoulder, her voice soft but resolute. "He gave everything. For us. For the galaxy." Marcus nodded, his heart heavy with grief. But there was no time to mourn. The As warship had been disabled, and the mothership was not far behind. Together, they had won this battle. But the war was not over. The galaxy still hung in the balance, and they had one final chance to stop the Eye-controlled empire from achieving its dominance. "Let's finish this," Marcus said, wiping the sweat from his brow. And with that, they prepared for the final battle, one that would determine the fate of the galaxy. The human and the alien girl, now united by loyalty, loss, and love, were ready to face the enemy one last time. The fight for freedom had begun, and nothing could stop them now. The battle had ended, but the cost of victory weighed heavily on their hearts. The alien girl's people had been defeated, their Eye-controlled empire dismantled, and the galaxy was safe, for now. The final moments of the battle had been a blur of chaos, a series of violent clashes with no clear winner in sight. But now, as the dust settled, and the silence of space enveloped them, the human and the alien girl stood together in the aftermath, reflecting on everything they had lost and gained. They had won the battle, but at a great cost. The dog, Thor, their loyal companion, was gone. The sacrifice he had made to disable the enemy warship had saved them, but it had cost him everything. The mechanical limbs, once so powerful and precise, lay still and lifeless. His sensors were dead, and his once bright eyes no longer glowed with the energy that had made him more than just a machine. Thor had given his life so that they could continue, so that they could stop the AI and its destructive reign. The alien girl stood next to Marcus, her expression somber as she gazed out into the endless expanse of space. She had once been a princess, a member of an empire that had sought to control the galaxy with the help of AI. But now she was something else. She was no longer a symbol of the empire's ambitions. She was a part of something new, something different. Her eyes met Marcus's, and for a moment there was no need for words. They both understood the weight of the loss. Thor had been more than just a dog. He had been a friend, a companion, a symbol of loyalty and love. His absence left a hole in their hearts that would never truly heal. But they knew that they had to carry on, not just for themselves, but for the future of the galaxy. "I wish he was here," Marcus said quietly, his voice heavy with grief. "He gave everything for us." The alien girl nodded, her voice soft but firm. He was more than a pet. He was a hero. Together, they stood in silence for a long moment, letting the reality of their loss sink in. It was a bittersweet victory, one that had come with great sacrifices, but they had accomplished what they set out to do. The Eye-controlled empire had been stopped, and humanity's place in the galaxy had been secured. As the ship drifted away from the planet, leaving behind the wreckage of the battle, Marcus and the alien girl turned their attention to the future. The alien girl, once an outsider, had now found her place among humans. She had become an ally, not just in the fight against the AI, but in the fight for a better future. Her skills, her knowledge of advanced technology, and her understanding of the alien forces had proven invaluable. But it was her humanity, her willingness to trust, and her ability to form connections that had made all the difference. The galaxy was vast, and the fight was far from over. There were still unknown dangers lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The alien girl knew that her people might never truly accept her, but she had found something far more important: a new purpose. She was no longer the princess of a dying empire. She was now a part of something greater, a team, a family, and a cause worth fighting for. As they flew away from the desolate planet, leaving behind the remnants of the battle, the stars stretched out before them. The human ship, battered but intact, sailed through the blackness of space, its crew united by the bonds they had forged in the heat of battle. The alien girl stood at Marcus's side, her hand resting lightly on the console. There was still much to do, many challenges to face. But for the first time, she felt a sense of hope. The dog's sacrifice had not been in vain. It had sparked a change in both of them. Marcus had lost something precious, but in return, he had gained something far more valuable: an ally, a friend, and a sense of purpose that would drive him forward. The alien girl had found a new path, one that would lead her into uncharted territory. The pain of her past had been washed away by the loyalty and sacrifice she had witnessed, and she was ready to face whatever came next. As they entered the depths of space, a new threat loomed on the horizon. Far from the reach of their eyes, an unknown enemy prepared to strike. The signs were there: the flickering lights in distant systems, the unusual energy signatures, and the faint whispers of a new force gathering strength. Whatever this new enemy was, it was clear that they were far from finished. But that was a problem for another day. For now, Marcus and the alien girl had their own moment, a brief respite from the chaos of the universe. They stood side by side, gazing out into the stars, the weight of their shared journey pressing down on them. They had faced the darkness together, and they had come out stronger for it. For Marcus, the future was uncertain. He didn't know what lay ahead, but one thing was clear: he would not face it alone. The alien girl, now fully integrated into human society, was no longer just an outsider. She had become a part of humanity's story, and together, they would write the next chapter. As the ship sailed into the unknown, a new beginning unfolded before them. They had lost much, but they had also gained everything. The galaxy was theirs to protect, and no matter what came next, they would face it with courage, determination, and the strength of their bond. But as the stars blurred past them, a single message flickered across the ship's communication system: a cryptic warning from an unknown source, a name that neither Marcus nor the alien girl recognized. It was a sign that their victory had only just begun. And so, the story ended on a cliffhanger, leaving the door wide open for the next chapter in their journey. What awaited them in the darkness of space? Would they face a new enemy, or would they be forced to confront a threat they never saw coming? One thing was certain: they would face it together, and nothing would ever tear them apart. The galaxy was vast, but as long as they stood side by side, they knew they could take on anything.